Welcome to the Kingmakers Podcast. Kingmakers is an accelerator for business buyers. We help entrepreneurs acquire their ideal business and provide them with the tools to succeed post-acquisition. I'm your host, Kylan Ginger. Join us as we explore and unlock the secrets to successful business acquisition, growth, and exiting strategies. Hey guys, so if you're enjoying the podcast and you want to take the next step in your business buying journey, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. First, check out our business buying workshop. The Kingmakers Workshop will give you a backstage pass to a private equity firm that acquires and operates 6+ new businesses per year. This is an opportunity for you to peek behind the curtain and understand the entire process of finding, buying, and growing an online business. The workshop is limited to a small amount of serious business buyers, so you can count on it being intimate and you can plan on spending plenty of one-on-one time with some of the best and brightest entrepreneurs in the M&A space. So go to kingmakers.co/workshop. Again, that's kingmakers.co/workshop to get more information and to apply. Second, if you are serious about buying a business, I would love to have a quick chat with you and see how we can help. Go to kingmakers.co/call, tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then you can schedule a free consultation call, and we'll see what we can do. Again, that's kingmakers.co/call. Talk to you soon. What is up, business buyers, and welcome to another Kingmakers episode. Today on the show, we have Rob Schad, the Fulfillment by Amazon expert. Rob actually came on another podcast of mine back in probably 2016 called Successful Dropout, where he talked about his entrepreneurial journey opting out of college and instead traveling around the world, building his FBA businesses. He has since built his own agency, and now he is partnered with Kingmakers, which means if you're buying an online business with us, if that business could use an e-commerce component as a growth tactic, Rob and his team come in during our growth diligence and they help outline a plan to create and launch a branded product for the website. So we're very excited to have him on. And with that, Rob, I will turn it over to you to kind of tell us a little bit more about your background, fill us in on some of the gaps there, and we'll get going.
Thanks, Kylan. Great intro. I have one correction. It was 2018 that we did the podcast. I was sitting in an apartment in London. I distinctly remember it.
A little bit more recent. Gotcha.
Yeah, a little bit more recent. It was 2016 that I just started my Amazon journey, though, and I was actually tuning into your podcast for some inspiration, being a recent college opt-out. That's when my journey started. And it was 2 days after I graduated high school that I sent my first order in to order a product from China and kind of jump into the Amazon selling game. Again, that was about 3 years ago, roughly 3 years ago. My life has basically been dedicated to building my own Amazon store, building out an agency, and then some other projects where I have a couple other storefronts that I'm involved with and do a lot of the growth side of it versus the day-to-day operations. And it's been a wonderful journey. And when I started, I never expected what that skill set would do for me. And it's not just the selling on Amazon with my storefront, it's really the skill set to sell on Amazon that has provided me a lot more than I ever expected.
Right. So I know a lot of people, when they think of FBA, they think of websites probably dedicated to e-commerce, like as a core business model. And what we've done at Kingmakers is when we look at, say, a publisher website to buy, a content-based website, there could be all sorts of opportunity to build, create, and launch a private label product is a pretty significant growth strategy for the business. And so I wonder if maybe you want to talk about that a little bit. Like, why is that important? Why would that be a good growth strategy to kind of launch your private label product instead of just send people through affiliate links or something?
Honestly, I love the idea of that. Whenever you told me that, my head just started churning. And the best part about that idea is you have to understand why a product on Amazon works. For a product to work on Amazon, you need traffic. And normally, for me, in the past, a lot of my traffic has come from paid advertising and just running ads or doing a giveaway and just churning myself up the rankings. Whereas when you have your own traffic source and you're able to push your initial 300, 400 customers in the first month and then continually there, you will skyrocket up the Amazon ranking. So not only are you generating profits from people that you might just send through an affiliate link, but now you're going to be hitting a whole new customer base on Amazon that you're able to take those customers and bring them back to your site and then turn them into a long-term customer, whether maybe they're just reading your blog or they're buying through more affiliate links. So you can just expand your customer base as well. Another thing on top of that is if you refer someone to your own listing, you can still use your own affiliate link. So Amazon will still pay you the Amazon affiliate commission on your own product. So you can kind of double dip there.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'd forgotten about that. And so, yeah, I suppose to add to that, so not only are you creating a product that you probably have higher margins on than just solely sending people through affiliate links, but you're you're double dipping there. That's great.
Exactly. And in terms of the business valuation, I don't personally know the numbers when it comes to what it would be adding an FBA component, but I would presume that if you build a physical product line on the back end of your business, that's probably going to increase the whole valuation of the business. I know an Amazon business strictly goes for about 2.2 yearly profits. Again, I don't know what affiliate sites are going for or content sites, but yeah, I don't know if you can add into that. And that's one big thing. I just see that by having another component to the business that makes it more valuable, that if you build it for 3 or 4 years and want to flip it, you have something that has more pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, it's very true. And you're kind of doing this on two fronts, right? Not only are you adding another monetization strategy that's increasing your revenue, increasing your net income, which increases your valuation, obviously, but you could be increasing your valuation just from the standpoint of being less risky because you've diversified your revenue streams, right? It's like if we're, as Kingmakers, with one of you guys listening as a partner of ours, looking to buy kind of a base publisher model, which is, a website maybe getting most of their traffic through organic, Google, SEO, and monetizing primarily through affiliate and or advertising. If you add another monetization strategy like FBA, like your own product to that and grow that, and maybe you even expand across a couple different products, now you've diversified those revenue streams and made the business less risky and more attractive to buyers who will probably pay a little bit more for it, right? You're kind of mitigating risk and growing the business at the same time, which is what we like to see. Now, for people listening who may not have like a complete understanding of FBA, do you want to just give like a quick overview on the Fulfillment by Amazon program, how it sort of works, what's all included, how it sort of takes the burden off people that's normally associated with shipping and housing product, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I love the FBA program is that it allows me to basically function as a company that sells products. I have no warehouse. I have no shipping staff. I have no shipping accounts with FedEx, UPS, DHL. I have no shipping accounts or anything. I'm able to basically use Amazon's network of fulfillment centers and get my product straight from manufacturers. Sometimes I'll let it sit at a third-party warehouse just to save a little bit on storage fees, but usually it goes straight from my manufacturers overseas to a main Amazon warehouse, and then they distribute it to all of their warehouses throughout the country. And whenever someone orders from your listing on Amazon, they just take one of the units and ship it out for you. You get charged a small fee based off of weight and dimensions. And then that customer receives it. It comes in Amazon packaging. It's eligible for Prime, and they handle returns as well. So it basically allows you to have a full product line without having to invest in a warehouse, have people on your team fulfilling orders, handling returns. Really, you just have to focus on building a great product and advertising it and getting it in front of people's eyes. And that's what we're here to help with.
Yeah, so it's like super, super hands off, which is great. And Amazon does take, how much of a cut they typically take, or does it kind of always depend on dimensions?
So the Amazon fee structure is 15% of your sale price. That's their selling fee, or that's flat on basically every single category with a few exceptions. And then when it comes to the fulfillment side of it, that's all depending on weight dimensions. But something like I have a hydro flask in front of me. For perspective, that's probably about $4 in fulfillment fees. So it's a very affordable solution to handle fulfillment. Even if you were to take products that are sitting at Amazon and put them on your own website, you can still use FBA as a way to fulfill those orders until you get to the point where it might make sense to have your own warehouse or use a different third-party fulfillment center. But Amazon can act as a fulfillment center for products that you sell off of Amazon.
Yeah, that's great to know. And they're taking care of customer service as well, too, right?
Returns, yes. But when it comes to like questions and things like that, that's normally on the seller. And I would prefer it would be on me anyways, just because I want to just make that transaction as smooth as possible. But because Amazon's handling a lot of returns and broken units, anything like that, you really don't get too much trickling back to you. It's not a very conducive, it's hands-on role. It just, again, it all depends on how many units you're selling a month to how many messages you're going to get.
Now, I tried FBA. I researched and sourced and launched a couple different products back in, I think it was 2016, which is probably why I got my dates mixed up in the beginning. And it went okay. Ultimately, the actual work that I was doing wasn't really for me. It didn't really appeal to me. So I stopped. I did make some money, but I sort of entered into it when, man, FBA was the craze. It was like, take this course and learn how to make $10,000 a day sitting in a hammock in the middle of nowhere. And I remember right as I came in, it's pretty much when everybody else was, and it just got super, super saturated. And that these products, when I researched them, there was only one other like kind of mom and pop seller. And I took the product, I made some adjustments, I made it a whole lot better, more durable. By the time I ended up getting it listed, which is a couple month process, there was like 10 other sellers that were doing basically the same thing. The next month there was like 20 other sellers. And then it was just this race to the bottom that just killed your margins. And so I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that as it relates to what we do at Kingmakers, and if it's still kind of saturated in some areas, what you might want to stay away from, and kind of where the opportunity still is.
Yeah, you were right on with that. I've seen that progression of every single time I go on YouTube, there's some type of ad. Hey, you see this Ferrari I own, you can own this too through 5 hours a week on Amazon. And that has attracted a lot of people who are just trying to make a quick buck. And honestly, though, I think it's toned down a little bit in the last, I would say 6 months to a year, because it kind of hit that phase in, I would say 2017, 2018, where everyone wanted to start an Amazon business. And now it's kind of like a lot of people did and a lot of people failed because they were just trying to run after the money. I mean, yeah, some people had great success, but a lot of people failed. And I think it's kind of slowed down on that aspect, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a lot of things that you could just literally throw a listing up, have no idea what you're doing and sell. You can't really do that anymore. Almost every category, there's contenders who have built up listings that have really good SEO rankings, have a lot of reviews, have great photos, and just have a presence established on Amazon. What I really loved whenever you came out to me and said, you know what, we are looking into building FBA businesses behind these, I'm just going to call them traffic sites as a general encompassing word, is behind traffic sites, is whenever you go to launch the product and get that initial traction, it's so important to get those initial sales. So where you're shooting data over to me and saying, hey, you know what, we have these 5 products that we're pushing affiliate sales to, and they're making 600 sales a month. Well, if we simply private label our own product, put our private label product up in place of those ones, and now instead of pushing the traffic to those 5 products, it's going to our private label product, we can expect a high percentage of those people that would buy product X to buy our product, which is product Y. And now we know that we can see 500 to 600 sales initially. And that's something 99.9% of Amazon sellers don't have, is that outside traffic source at such high levels, pushing sales to get their listing off and then be able to rise it up the rankings. Because again, if we're seeing 500-600 sales a month, that for a lot of categories will put us in the top page, will put us in the top 5. That's not even factoring in having any additional people on Amazon buying as well. So if we see a 1,000 or 1,000 units per month market potential, and we're able to get 600 from our traffic and then potentially another 1,000 from Amazon's traffic, we're a really high contender for being in the top spots very, very quickly, even not having a lot of reviews or a lot of traction. It's because we're able to get that initial push from our traffic and push us up the rankings. And then once you're in the rankings, not saying that you can't fall down, but once you're up there and once you're getting the traffic, you have the advantage because you're just going to continually get the traffic. Really, the only thing that can knock you down is if you run out of inventory. That's one of the main reasons.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, what are some of the other things that you can do to sort of keep that rank? I mean, other ways to kind of optimize the listing. Is there a way also that you can connect with, besides Amazon's organic traffic, just seeing your brand and maybe like typing it into the search bar and hitting your website? Is there other ways that you're allowed to like gather their information or connect with them to send them back to your site too? Or
So Amazon's pretty tight on what you can and can't do. They're very much like, they don't want you to take their customers, but there's ways around it. There's ways that, again, you probably 99% of people do it and they're not getting in trouble. And then there's like one horror story out of 100 of someone who gets caught and then they get shut down. But some of these ways could be having an insert card in your product that says, hey, we hope you like our product. Check out XYZ site for everything you want to know about water bottles or sports recreation. That could be in there. Another thing you can do is you can actually download your customer report from Amazon. So they'll give you their emails, but you can get name, phone number, and address, I believe. Based off of that, you can go create a Facebook audience, and then you can go target all those people on Facebook with, again, a lead magnet. So maybe you have the 10 best water bottles, and then you hit them with that lead magnet on Facebook, and then you bring them to your site that way. So that's another way you can kind of get around there. Again, their rules without breaking them. Rules are meant to be broken.
that's right. I don't think Jeff Bezos is listening to this episode. He told me he listens to some of the others, but
I think we're in the clear. Exactly. And the thing is, it's not like we're blatantly going after anyone. Everything's very subtle. We're not going to be overly pushing. Like, I've seen way worse. I've bought things before that are way worse. Again, 99% of people get away with it. It's like that 1 in 100 that someone, they go too far. They do something out of their reach. They try to put in their packaging that you're going to get like a $25 gift card if you leave them a 5-star review. Like, if you do that, you're kind of asking for
a reprimand or a
yeah,
being banned.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a little much. I like the idea though of just a simple touch card that's in there. A lot of people might ignore it. It's not intrusive, but it's just like, hey, we exist, and maybe have other products you're interested in.
And the thing is, you buy any major brand, like you buy Monopoly, they have a card in there that has their other products and website in it. Like Hasbro, like one of the biggest sellers on Amazon, has that in every single one of their products. So if they're going to try to enforce it on the little sellers, well, you know what? You should enforce it on the people that are doing hundreds of billions of dollars on your site too.
Yeah, that's great. There's some fantastic advantages there. I mean, speaking of additional products, how do you think about that? I mean, I'm thinking it's obviously, if you want to add an FBA component to like your traffic site or your content site or blog or whatever, probably best to start out with one, see how it goes. Like, I'd be curious to hear you expand on a little bit more about how do you find that one product. I know you mentioned you can kind of look at maybe where you're already sending affiliate sales and be the judge there, but it's like there are some products that are very hard to private label because there's a lot of maybe brand equity or something behind them. So maybe expand on that. And then how do you decide like when and how to add on like additional products and create like a whole suite of products, I guess?
Yep. I'll start with finding that initial product. Like you said, if there's a lot of affiliate traffic that we're able to look at, that makes it pretty easy to say, okay, this is what we're sending traffic to. Then does this make sense to private label? So that's one thing. We can be sending traffic to it, but it may not make sense to actually turn that into a private label product.
Yeah. I was like, why is that? What would be some of the reasons?
Yeah, I would say reason one could be, it could just be really, really saturated with way too many sellers. And even with sending traffic to it, it still may not make sense just because the margins don't make sense. There's really no room for improvement on the product. There's heavy brand equity. So brand equity, like you're not going to go sell a laptop or you're not going to go sell a TV because there's heavy, heavy brand equity with that. And also it's a product that there's a lot of small components in a laptop that can break, and it's bringing on a lot more confusion when it comes to the product development side versus a water bottle.
Right.
So that's one thing to take into consideration. Like, I mean, hey, maybe in the future we will, but at the moment, we're not going to China and sourcing. We're going through Alibaba and messaging suppliers, getting samples and honing it in that way. So the easier the product, the less pieces it has, the less things that can break, the better product it will be for FBA, considering we're not bringing it in, we're not inspecting every unit. We use third-party inspections, but we're not inspecting every single unit and we're not taking it all into us. So you want what's getting to Amazon. You don't want it to be broken. You don't want it to be falling apart. You don't want there to be a million things that could go wrong with it, kind of like a laptop when someone receives it. So that's another thing to look into, is like kind of like not simplistic, but products that don't have a lot of things that can break, have a lot of electronic components. So to be more on the simple side, that's when it comes to like around like sourcing that one product and finding that one product, some of the things to take into consideration when it comes to expanding a product line. If we have that initial product, so it's a water bottle, and say it's a sports recreation site, and we see that our blogs about popular water bottles are doing very well. And then we see that there's other blog articles with some affiliate traffic that are pushing running bands that slide up your arm, and that those are doing well. Now, there's a connection between our two products because someone who's buying a running band may also buy a water bottle. Then on top of that is like we could go launch another water bottle that would be like one that you run with. And based off of who our customer is and that initial product, it makes sense to launch future products to match that customer versus saying, okay, we have a water bottle. Why don't we launch a microphone or like a phone case or something that is out there? And now those are really far out there, but we always want to think of like with a private label product is like, if we sell one thing, will someone buy our next product? That first customer, will they buy our next product? And just making sure that whole product line continues on with that initial product idea. And again, there might be a site out there who has multiple different customer bases where it makes sense to make multiple different lines of products and just brand them towards that. But again, if you want to think of the customer and build products based off that initial product of the customer, and then if it makes sense because there's the traffic or the affiliate sales to build a whole new product line, that's something that can be done as well.
Yeah, what do you think about the idea of like, I'm just thinking if I like bought a publisher site with Kingmakers and I launched a first product and that did well and built up some momentum over 3-6 months, and then maybe launch a second, third, and fourth product, and say it's in, the sports niche, like you're saying, like sports and fitness or something. I mean, what do you think about the idea, and have you ever seen this, of like me going out and hunting for other Amazon businesses or products to essentially acquire that already have a customer base and just absorb them into my content site or take advantage of some cross-selling or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a fantastic idea. If you already have a product line and it makes sense to just go acquire in the sports niche, maybe a supplement line, a small supplement line where they cross over, they have a customer base. Now, you don't have to go do all the legwork of building out the supplement line, but you know that your audience could potentially buy the supplements. So maybe you run like a test to see if you start writing traffic about supplements, if people will go buy through affiliate links. And if that test is successful, then maybe look at buying a supplement line. So I think what the beauty of a publishing site is that you could go and you could use a blog article or use a series of blog articles to test if your audience would be willing to go purchase additional niche of products if you started to write content about it.
Right. It's a solid point. How long does the process usually take? And maybe you can just kind of sort of clarify what type of work you do if you're working with a Kingmakers partner. I think we've already touched a bit on, before we even buy a deal, your team is looking at the deal with us during the post LOI kind of deep diligence, growth diligence phase, and you're generating a report on basically like, you've looked at the data, here is where I think we could, private label product 1, 2, or 3, and here's some kind of projections, the ROI. But once we buy the deal and kind of get things started. What does the general sort of timeline look? What does that all entail?
So the timeline's a little malleable. It's really based on finding a manufacturer. That's probably the piece of the puzzle that is the most malleable, because the way we go about it is we'll reach out to 10, 15, 20 manufacturers. We just have a standard set of questions we ask them. What we're trying to figure out is hone in on exact pricing, hone in on specifics around the product if we need to make any changes, or if we're just going to kind of go with what they have in stock, or if we want to make changes to what they have in stock, what that entails, if they can handle that. What else we're trying to figure out from them is obviously we need some samples. So we want to get sample fees, we want to get sample charges from them. Based off that set of questions, normally try to whittle it down to 3 to 5 that we think will make the most sense, that answer us the best. You'll have some manufacturers who respond with like one-word answers, and you're like, if this is how you're going to respond with me trying to do business with you, I don't want to do business with you. And then you just kind of toss those people out. So what I'm looking for is people who are like putting effort in, who are answering our questions, who are actually trying to make a conceited effort to do business with us and build like a long-term relationship. And to manufacturers in China, that's something that they're looking for as well, as building long-term relationships. So that's from day one, what you're trying to convey is that long-term relationship. And it's a good negotiating tactic to get prices down when it comes down to negotiating your final price. But details aside, so once we find the manufacturer or find those 3 to 5, we order samples from them. And then the samples take about a week to 2 weeks to receive based on shipping time. So that's about the first month in just reaching out and then waiting for samples. We check out the samples. If we like what we see and we find a supplier that's producing a product we like, it's the right price point, everything looks good, we can move ahead with the order. If not, then factor in another 2 to 4 weeks to kind of go through that, reach out to suppliers again to hone in on the product. And again, if the second time we don't get anything, that could be another 2 to 4 weeks. So trying to get that initial product and making sure it's what we like, it's better to spend time on the front end to make sure we're satisfied versus trying to rush something that we don't feel 100% about. Because in the future, we probably want to change it, or we're going to end up getting bad reviews, or we're just not going to have a good relationship with this supplier and we just get a crappy product. So it makes sense to spend that extra time up front. So on the low end, 2 to 4 weeks, high end, maybe 2 to 3 months. Once that product is picked, once we get our supplier, we make a deal with them. Usually it's about a 30-day production time. That's what most of them work on. And then after it's produced, I'm shipping basically everything via sea just due to the cost. Shipping via air is extremely expensive and really just a last resort. If you're running out of something, you want to send in 200 units to get you through. So everything to ship via sea, it takes roughly 2 weeks to go from most ports in China to the West Coast. From there, another like 2 weeks roughly to cleared by customs, to get to a factory, and then to get shipped to Amazon. So all in, from product to product at Amazon, I would say you're looking at 3 months on the low end, 6 months on the high end. And when it's at Amazon, that's when we start selling. But in that time when it's getting produced and it is getting shipped, that's when we're working to build the listing, to do photography, to set up the launch with you guys and what articles we want to put out, what affiliate codes we need to change. All of that logistical stuff is happening during that time.
And your team is taking care of all of that for the buyer, as well as just ongoing kind of managing the listings on Amazon, correct?
Exactly. We're basically an all-encompassing solution where we'll help find the supplier, we help set up all the logistics, we write all the listings, we handle all the photography, we continually that ongoing growth, we run the ads, we do inventory management, everything that kind of is encompassed into selling on Amazon, that's on us to handle. Really, all we're looking for from you guys is when it comes to the strategy of the launch on the blog and that ongoing, just kind of pushing it on your site to Amazon. And then again, feedback on the product and making sure it makes sense and making sure you're involved with picking the product, picking the right supplier, and you're happy with all the numbers and everything like that.
Awesome, man. And if you don't mind, if you have them in your head, like what type of, with your FBA experience in the past and some of the other businesses you've built, I mean, what type of growth have you seen, kind of best case? I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing any numbers there, but, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I can use my business and then a recent business I'm in as a case study. So with my Amazon store, the product I was selling, I didn't know it was, again, this was my first thing I ever sold online besides like shoes and some stuff on eBay. So the first time I launched, I did like $20,000 in 2 weeks. I was like the happiest 18-year-old at the time. It was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like I can make money online. And then that product ended up being not totally seasonal, but does really well in October. And then the next year ended up selling about 100,000 in that product, and then an auxiliary product that does well in the month of October, another like 50,000 in that. So that was probably best month to date for me personally. And I did about 150,000 in roughly 27 days selling two products throughout the year, like over the
And that's
summers.
without even, like, you had no pre-existing traffic or anything.
Nope, that was purely with Amazon ads. And even still, I run my Amazon ads at a pretty profitable level. So I'm still making a 10% margin on all my products that sell through Amazon ads. And it's just a good way to help push additional sales to the listing. And now, more recently, there's a partnership I'm in where we have two products. And honestly, like one of the products wasn't doing too well. And we were trying to figure out why. And we kind of honed in that it was the color, and the initial color we had just wasn't too appealing. So what we did is we ended up purchasing three other colors, and we went from selling like literally $700 for the previous couple months to $6,000 for the last 2 months. And that's continually to grow. And we launched another product on top of that. And with Amazon ads in a very, not should I say undiscovered market, but somewhere where the other sellers don't have good photos and they don't have good listings, we basically went from 0 to 4,000 in revenue just with some Amazon ads, and we ran out of all our inventory. So in the month and a half we had it, we sold through like $10,000 in inventory and are out now. So that was a good thing to happen, but we're kind of not sad, but we have our new order in, and we're excited to kind of have our full inventory order in to see really what the potential of the market is. Because again, we got in, we slowly built it up, and then it caught fire, and then we ran out. So
yeah, that's interesting that even just changing the color on would add so many sales. Is there any way to kind of predict that or see, pay attention to any sort of indicators so that you don't get stuck in this position where it kind of takes off and then all of a sudden you're out of inventory and you just lose that chance at momentum?
It's a good thing and a bad thing, because what we did is we had a test of like 400 units, and we wanted to be a little bit more conservative, hence why we only had 400 units, and running out wasn't the end of the world. We're like, okay, great, now we need to order more. So if you have a test run of smaller units, you just have to be okay with running out if it does well.
But it doesn't mean you couldn't get a momentum going again or continue ranking. Yeah.
Exactly. Just in a couple months or 2-3 months, know that you need to get the inventory in, you can get the rank back. Some categories, though, it might be a little bit more difficult, but the one that we're in, I haven't seen anything that would raise any red flags around that. So we just like quadrupled our inventory order, and we'll have inventory for the upcoming, Q4.
Awesome, man. I think we're about over. Wondering, before I let you go, if you have any kind of parting advice or anything to say before we outro here.
Well, I don't know when this is going to be played, but I'll be up in San Francisco for your events. So if anyone is listening to this before that or on the airplane, if it comes out before that, I'll see you in San Francisco. Say hello to me, ask me questions. If anyone listening does have more specific questions around Amazon, you can shoot them to Kylan, who can shoot them to me. I'm happy to answer absolutely anything when it comes to the process, when it comes to building out a product. If we find a product that works for you, I would be really excited to work with you to launch it and build out a brand behind your site. So
yeah, awesome. And yeah, you're talking about, we have one of our business buying workshops coming up in San Francisco. That's going to be fun. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Probably email. Yeah, I've been kind of rearing off the social media. It's not good for my brain. My email is rob, R-O-B, at robschad, schad.com.
Awesome. And we'll have links to that in the show notes as well. Sweet. Well, folks, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. And today you've been hanging out with Kylan and Rob, learning how to build your business empire. For more information or to get in touch, head over to kingmakers.co. And always remember to build beyond business.